rock americano e, de quebra, embolsar perto de 80 milhões de dólares, por enquanto. Com 20 anos de estrada, o R.E.M. é uma das mais expressivas bandas americanas dos últimos tempos, personagem de uma das mais intrigantes histórias de sobrevivência no pop. Os meninos que acertaram ao negar a atitude de rockstars e investir nos ideais políticos já passaram por poucas e boas, mas continuam firmes como nunca. O segredo do R.E.M. é Michael Stipe, um menino rouco, esquisito, magricela, que se tornou o porta-voz de uma geração. Ele hoje é um multiman, como poucos no mundo pop, produz filmes, fotografa e vive confortavelmente sua vida gay entre Nova York e Londres. A banda passou anos na batalha, conquistando o público na raça, tocando em clubes fedorentos, até começar a ganhar aos poucos credibilidade nas universidades americanas. A garotada dos dormitórios se identificou de cara com a pose de poeta de Michael Stipe e, finalmente, com o discurso cabeça da banda ali no fim dos anos 80, uma época sombria do governo Bush, primeiro governo Bush. A banda arrebentou mesmo foi com o disco Green, de 89, mas Out of Time, de 91, é que foi o pote de ouro. Quem é que não se lembra de Losing My Religion, um dos maiores hinos da década? Foram 10 milhões de discos vendidos só nos Estados Unidos. O tom messiânico e os vocais sofridos de Michael Stipe, com ótimas melodias e letras fortes, transformaram a banda numa espécie de U2 da América. Então, ano após ano, eles lançaram músicas para as horas de solidão, de ansiedade e de depressão da garotada, sempre sem apelar para o sentimentalismo barato. A sonoridade também evoluiu do quase amadorismo inicial para produções super caprichadas, sem perder a simplicidade. Seguiram-se novos discos, novos sucessos e, claro, novos e muitos problemas. Numa mesma turnê em 95, 3 integrantes da banda foram para o hospital, sendo que o baterista Bill Berry, aneurisma cerebral. No Por Trás da Fama de hoje, nós vamos ver como o R.E.M. enfrentou a pressão para assinar o contrato mais alto de toda a história do rock e perdeu um dos seus integrantes mais importantes logo em seguida. Como eles sobreviveram durante 20 anos na cena imediatista do rock and roll. Então, vida, paixão e ideologia do R.E.M. no Por Trás da Fama.
20 years ago, 4 friends set out with just one goal, to make their music without compromise.
A lot of other bands look up to them. When they think of R.E.M., they think integrity.
This one goes out to the one I love. This one goes out to the one I've left behind.
Along the way, R.E.M. earned the praise of millions of fans and the respect of a generation of rockers.
R.E.M., you know, you walk in that shadow. I mean, I certainly did. You know, that's the destination. That's what you want.
They built their reputation on the road, not the radio, winning fans one town at a time.
You walk into a place, there may be 10 or 15 people there, and they're standing there with their arms folded saying, "Prove it to me."
From the beginning, they were anti-rock stars who seized every chance to mock their celebrity.
Is that you in the corner?
That's me in the corner.
That's me in the corner.
R.E.M. broke all the rules and were rewarded with the biggest record contract in pop music history. But their incredible success turned R.E.M.'s very private lead singer into a very public figure, until even his sex life became a political issue.
I felt forced to talk about my queerness just because I felt like I was being looked on as a coward for not talking about it.
They stood united through 2 decades of musical triumphs and one frightening brush with death.
I didn't know if he was going to die, if he was going to be paralyzed, if he was going to lose his memory.
But now R.E.M. says they face their greatest challenge as their road-weary drummer, Bill Berry, bids farewell to the band he loves.
Being at home and not traveling is a lot more important to me now than it used to be.
Tonight on Behind the Music, R.E.M., The story of 4 guys from a small southern town who became unlikely American heroes.
R.E.M. proved that if you work at something long enough and hard enough, you can get there from here.
For close to 2 decades, R.E.M. blended 4 personalities into a group that was greater than the sum of its parts.
There was this kind of Fab Four element to them, you know, like everybody was cool, and they, you know, I could already imagine the 16 magazine caricatures of them.
They're such regular guys, and they're all very different, but the fact that they are different and that they work as this great unit, you know, I think that's one thing that really works for them.
We were friends. We always have been friends, and that's part of what makes it work for us.
Hey now, little speedy head, read on the speed matter says.
Bill Berry, Mike Mills, Peter Buck, and Michael Stipe stuck through good times and bad with a determination few groups have ever been able to muster. After nearly 2 decades, the band seemed all but indestructible.
We've broken up several times in the past 18 years, several times. You know, each one of us has just gone off at some point. It meant like, you know, just like, F it, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore, I can't take it. And we always, you know, we're all wussies, so we always come back in.
But all that changed on October 30th, 1997. Just 2 weeks into recording Up, the band's 11th album, drummer Bill Berry walked into the studio and delivered news no one was prepared to hear. Bill told his bandmates that after 17 years, he had had enough of the rock and roll life and was leaving R.E.M. for good.
I have got to leave to find my way.
Thanks for giving me the greatest job a guy could ever have. I mean, I really mean that. I mean, it's been a lot of fun right up until right now, and I'm sorry.
The day Bill made the news official that he was leaving R.E.M., the rest of the band closed ranks by his side. Nonetheless, Bill's departure still felt like a death in the family.
I was extremely sad and hurt and angry and upset and disappointed.
We're very unsettled by this, you know. It's the biggest change that we've ever had. It's the most direct blow that we've had.
When Bill left, it was sad. I knew about it for a period of a couple of months. I kept hoping he'd change his mind. I think we should stop.
R.E.M. has always been bound as much by friendship as by music. That's the way it started back in 1979 when they first met in the bohemian college town of Athens, Georgia.
There's always been something about Athens that really set it apart from other towns, and that something is the intangible that you can't really ever put your finger on. Because it's Southern, there's an acceptance of people's quirks and eccentricities.
At the center of the music scene in Athens stood a record store called Wuck Street. The counter clerk was a dedicated rock and roll fan named Peter Buck. One of his customers had the annoying habit of buying all the records Buck wanted for himself, an art student named Michael Stipe.
I would just go into the record store every day and flip through the records, and I'd always pick the ones that he had put back for himself that were like, you know, $2 for a New York Dolls.
We just got to be friends, and then he just said, oh, you know, mentioned that, oh, he'd been in a band. I said, oh, what are you doing? That's what I sang.
He initially didn't even want to be in a band because he said, all guys in bands are assholes, and I don't want to be an asshole. And I was like, well, you don't have to be, we don't have to be assholes. You know, we can be like the non-asshole band.
We just wrote songs immediately. We had probably 5 or 6 songs before we ever met Bill or Mike.
Mike Mills and Bill Berry were high school friends and bandmates who'd moved into town from Macon, Georgia. In late '79, they met Stipe and Buck at a bar. Soon the foursome were hanging out and playing music in Peter Buck's apartment, a room in a rundown church.
The church had a little proscenium in the back. You'd have to climb through a closet to get to it. It was a stage. Holes in the stage and holes that fell down half a story to the dirt basement where the graves were. There were 2 graves down there.
I didn't know that we thought we were that good musically, but we sure enjoyed each other's company.
One night, while the 4 friends were sitting around in the church drinking beer, Michael Stipe grabbed a dictionary.
He pointed a word and he said, how about this? And we'd all go, no. And he went through 5 or 6 like that, and then finally he said, how about R.E.M.? We said, what does that mean? He said, well, it means rapid eye movement. Great, we'll take it. It was short, you know, it was easy to say, and it basically didn't peg us as being any one kind of band, like Cans of Piss might have done. You know?
Crowds in Athens soon swelled to watch R.E.M. play at local clubs like the 40 Watt, a bar lit by a single light bulb.
We were getting 400 people a night the first shows we ever did. It was kind of mind-boggling, you know. But we were kind of famous the very first day.
Two of those early fans would guide R.E.M.'s fortunes for the next 15 years. Jefferson Holt was a record store owner who volunteered to be R.E.M.'s road manager. Burtis Downs was a law school graduate who offered to help the band sort out their business affairs.
I worked with them as a volunteer, just helping out, and gradually over the next couple of years it became more like a real job. So that's, you know, all these years later, that's kind of still what it is.
Traveling throughout the South in a beat-up van, R.E.M. played any place that would have them, from pubs to pizza parlors. They each survived on a food allowance of just $2 a day.
We lived Spinal Tap. I mean, if you've seen This Is Spinal Tap and you know the one where they play the Army base, we did that. You know, they were abusing us and yelling faggot this and faggot that, and so of course Michael and Peter would kiss immediately just to inflame them further.
R.E.M. developed an original sound that provoked passionate reactions. Audiences either loved them or hated them. For the band, each night was a challenge, and that's just the way they liked it.
To be a band that really connects with people on an emotional level, I think you have to know how to do it in a situation where it's adversarial. You walk into a place, there may be 10 or 15 people there, and they're standing there with their arms folded saying, prove it to me, you know, and I think that's what makes you better.
It was all or nothing every night. It was all or nothing every song. Every time you opened your mouth, it had to be everything that you could give.
While other young bands moved to New York or L.A. in hopes of hitting the big time, R.E.M. marched to a different beat.
We weren't really trying to become huge or hugely popular. And we did want to have fun and maybe not have regrets later on in our life.
In early 1982, R.E.M.'s booking agent, Ian Copeland, sent a tape of the band's music to IRS, an independent label owned by Ian's older brother, Miles Copeland.
I kept harassing him and hounding him to book this band. And finally, he came to me. He wanted me to handle an all-girl band from L.A., and they were called the Bangles. Finally, I said, okay, Miles, I'll tell you what, I'll do them if you sign R.E.M. And so we did a deal. We did a kind of a trade-off.
We wanted two things once we started approaching the business, or the business started approaching us. We wanted to never be in debt, and we wanted to have total control over everything we did. IRS was the perfect company for that because they wouldn't spend any money on anybody anyway.
Mitch Easter and Don Dixon produced R.E.M.'s first album in early '83. They say Michael Stipe acted more like a recluse than a rock singer. He scribbled his lyrics on matchbooks and sang his vocals in a darkened hallway.
The contrarian attitudes kind of sifted through everything. The way Mike played bass parts that were not traditional bass parts, and the way Peter used what he knew about guitar, which was kind of limited, to really great effect.
R.E.M. finished the record in just 3 weeks. They called it Murmur. And in an age of glossy dance music, no one expected it to make much noise.
We didn't want it to sound like, I'm not even going to say his name, but ugh. Tonight's the night, you know, I just didn't want it to be that, like, that kind of Rod Stewart-ick, you know, radio stuff.
Rate this one, if you will. Take a little step back so we can take a peek at it. It is Radio Free Europe by R.E.M.
Murmur was anything but mainstream, but it had a good beat and you could dance to it. When Radio Free Europe debuted on American Bandstand, R.E.M. blew away the competition. A wannabe rock star named Michael Bolton.
95, look at that, across the board. What was so good about it?
It was more danceable than the first.
Think that's a smash hit?
Sure, why not?
Ready or not, R.E.M. was on its way to stardom. Next, R.E.M. weathers a fierce English winter.
I guess we're looking back on it now and realizing how incredibly close to breaking up we came.
And later, Mr. Stipe goes to Washington.
I didn't think that music and politics mixed, but I was going to try.
And Behind the Music continues.